Welcome back to another fantasy fight, this time Ibeabuchi against Jerry Quarry. These are two of my personal favorites. Ibeabuchi, 20-0, had to do some prison time. His career was pretty much cut short. Jerry Quarry, on the other hand, unfortunately fought at 196 pounds, was a cruiserweight, a division that had not been created at the time. He would truly be one of the greatest cruiserweights of all time if they'd had the division. He ended up fighting heavyweights that were 15, 20 pounds heavier than he was, and he beat them most of the time. An outstanding matchup. Look forward to it. Ibeabuchi was an amazing heavyweight. Finished 20-0 in his short career, and his prime was very short too, 1997 to 99. Stood 6'2", 235 at his peak. Had a 77-inch reach. Ibeabuchi really only fought two top 10 fighters in his career. An undefeated David Tua in a 12-round decision he won, and Chris Bird, a 5th-round TKO. Both fights Ibeabuchi won. Both those fighters came into the fight undefeated. So his body of work is very small in comparison to a fighter like Jerry Quarry. But nonetheless, we're going to take a stab at it. Now let's take a look at Jerry Quarry, one of the top heavyweights of the late 1960s and early 1970s. Quarry had a 53-9-4 record. His prime was about 8 years, 67 to 75. He only stood 6 foot. Weighed 196 in his prime, and had a rather short reach of only 72 inches. And as I mentioned earlier, his actual boxing classification should have been cruiserweight, but the division had not been created as of yet. Came onto the national scene in '67 against Floyd Patterson with a 12-round decision in the first round of the WBA elimination tournament. Then he beat Thad Spencer in a 12th round knockout. And he lost in the finals to Jimmy Ellis with a broken back in a 15-round decision. His father was his manager and made some rather bad decisions, kind of forced him to fight because he was going to make $125,000 for the fight. He went back and he got back in the victory column against Buster Mathis in a 12-round decision. Then in 1970, he fought Mac Foster, the top contender, according to Ring Magazine, and beat him in a 6th-round knockout. He defeated Ron Lyle in 1973 in a 12-round decision and knocked out Ernie Shavers in the first round in 1973. Other losses were to Eddie Mason in a 10-round decision early in his career, 1966. George Chuvalo on a fluke in 1969, 7th-round knockout. He was on one knee and didn't get off his knee in time. He was fully capable of continuing. And then he lost to Ken Norton on a 6th-round TKO. His Achilles heel, like many, were Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali. He lost to both of them twice. Those fights were wars. Quarry was very susceptible to cuts. That's something to keep in mind, much like Rocky Marciano. He struggled with that, and most of the fights he lost were due to cuts. Had a granite chin. Very seldom. Frazier was never able to put him down. Ali was never able to put him down. All those fights were stopped due to cuts. Now we're looking at Ibeabuchi. As I said earlier, there's not a whole lot of information about him out there. His two big banner fights were against Chris Bird and David Tua. There you can see a close-up of him. He was in his prime, and he was always in his prime because he went to prison in his prime. Had some convictions due to rape charges and things like that really set him back. He's a menacing figure. Tough heavyweight. Take a look at Jerry Quarry fighting Floyd Patterson in 1967. The Bellflower Bomber. You can see is introduced. Very slim. I think he came in about 191 in this fight. He was only 22 years old. This is Quarry against Mac Foster. And as I said earlier, this was a big fight at the time. Mac Foster was undefeated, came out of California 24-0 with 24 knockouts, a top contender by the Ring magazine, and you can see what Jerry Quarry's doing to him. He's never come into anything like Jerry Quarry. He was a fighting machine. Although he was giving up size and weight, he more than held his own. And he had Mac Foster all over the ring in this fight. Foster eventually is stopped in the 6th round. Now we're watching Jerry Quarry against Joe Frazier in 1969 for their version of the heavyweight championship. This fight was just a war. Quarry did not fight smart. He went toe-to-toe with Frazier, which nobody could do. You needed to keep Frazier off of you. You needed to box him. Here Jerry Quarry is against Ernie Shavers, 1973, probably his greatest victory. First round knockout. This was in New York City. The crowd went crazy. If you ever get a chance, listen to the crowd noise in this one. It's pretty wild because Jerry Quarry was a crowd favorite. And the big bomber Ernie Shavers was unable to hurt Quarry. Quarry could take a punch. And early in fights is when he was the most dangerous. And you can see he definitely was a finisher. As he goes at Shavers and finishes them off, you can see the crowd in the background going crazy. And this set the stage for Quarry to make another run at the heavyweight title. But unfortunately, he ran into Joe Frazier before that happened. And there is the final knockdown. Now we're going to take a look at Jerry Quarry in 1967 in the first round of the WBA elimination tournament. Floyd Patterson, his opponent. You see the hand speed there of Quarry. We're watching Ibeabuchi against David Tua in their matchup. Both fighters were undefeated coming into this fight. Tua's going to go on and be one of the top fighters of the decade. As I said earlier, we don't have much footage on Ibeabuchi as far as against top heavyweights. Notice the jab. He can hit with either hand. 234. And David Tua is one bad dude, and you can see Ike is holding his own. This is Ibeabuchi against Chris Bird. Both fighters were undefeated. You can see the devastating power that he has. Bird went on to actually win a couple of belts, heavyweight championship belts. But he's no match for Ike. 5th round TKO. This shows you the power that the man had. Attacks him pretty aggressively. Bird is complaining about something as usual. He's getting his butt kicked. He should be worried about that. But Bird was a real elusive fighter, very quick, and you can see Ibeabuchi had no trouble with him as he just goes and just rips him apart again. Devastating puncher. Let's continue watching Ike here against some unranked opponents, but nonetheless you can get an idea of his power. And he is having no trouble at this point. Notice how fast his hands are, the authority he throws punches with. Has a dominating jab. He only stood 6'2", but he more than held his own against bigger opponents. He also had the ability to get low, very low. Now this fighter here, all he did in this fight was basically hold on to survive. But this gives you an example of Ibeabuchi against another opponent. Very good conditioned fighter, very aggressive. And here once again is the Chris Bird, showing you against Bird's movement how low Ibeabuchi could get. A lot of head movement, hard target to hit. And this is Chris Bird, one of the fastest fighters in the heavyweight division. Taking a look at the comparison chart, it's rather telling. Hand speed, no advantage. Boxing ability, Jerry Quarry. Chin, both of them had granite chins. Size, Ibeabuchi has an advantage. Defense and endurance, both of them were well conditioned. Both were excellent defensive fighters. As we move on here to the second chart, you can see adaptability and foot speed is no advantage on either fighter. Strength, Ibeabuchi has the advantage. Jab, he has a tremendous jab. Cuts, Quarry was very susceptible to cuts. Reach, once again, Ibeabuchi has the advantage there. And body attack, both of them could go to the body. But you can see pretty dominant. Ibeabuchi is a 5-1 advantage in his favor. Before I render my decision in the Ibeabuchi-Jerry Quarry fight, please hit the like button and subscribe. And we want to know your comments on who you think would win. This fight's rather easily to call for me because Ibeabuchi had a 40-pound weight advantage, was very active, even though his body of work is much less than Jerry Quarry. He was just a fantastic fighter. I don't think he'd put Jerry Quarry down, but I think by the 6th, 7th, and 8th round, Quarry's face would be a mess from that jab, if he made it that long. I'm looking for Ibeabuchi to win in a 7th round TKO. Thanks for watching. Now let's take a quick look at the brackets. Ibeabuchi is going to move on, defeating Jerry Quarry. He's going to fight the winner of the Tim Witherspoon-David Haye fight. Thanks for watching.